Welcome to Rewrite the Mother Code, the show where we can explore our inner mothers to actualize our greatest selves. Through interviews with incredible guests, live coaching sessions, and my own experiences, we're going to dive deep into embracing feminine values and reparenting ourselves. So be prepared to show up, hold space, and be mothered in a way that you never have before, but have always needed. It's time to rewrite the mother code. Hi, and welcome to this week's bonus episode with 𝐒𝐿izabeth 𝐇𝐢𝐠𝐡𝐥𝐢𝐠𝐡𝐭𝐬. By now, if you've been tracking our time together, I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to be in the moment and present with her as she's real time going through things. I look forward to these sessions and my time with 𝐒𝐿izabeth because it allows me to explore and look at and kind of go back to that time. And I've been reparenting, remothering myself around, my pregnancy, birth, particularly now in these very early days of new motherhood. And I look forward to today's session because I don't know, we're not pre-planning these. We're not like, here's the subject we're going to work on. We're really trying to make them as in the moment and what's so for her as possible. And I just am so grateful that she's been willing to bring herself so present to these times together. And I know they're valuable for her. She's told me that, but I think they're just precious and gold for all of us. And whether you're listening to this as someone who's going through it, you're kind of like tracking right there with her. You're someone who this process and being in it, directly having had a child or going to have a child isn't even on your radar and you don't. Like, I want everybody to feel the freedom and the invitation to generalize, right? Like when we go through something really challenging, when we do hard things, when we step into unknown new spaces, no matter how much we've learned, educated ourselves, worked and talked about things, we don't know what it is until we're doing it. That's the space that we're in here. So I know it's directly valuable to women who may be going through this specifically now or intend to, but I just definitely don't want it to stop there and feel exclusive in that way, because I'm also seeing it. I'm translating it. Yes, it's bringing me back and I'm able to, explore, and I've had feelings come up around these early days in my motherhood, but I'm also looking at it like as I'm in this new sphere of my business of writing a book and, kind of being in it and what it's stirring up and the hard parts about that I just want to avoid or dismiss my feelings about any and all of these things. Like, I want the invitation to explicitly and fully be there with you. And if you have any questions or like, gosh, I really can't see how any of these direct things that 𝐒𝐿izabeth is talking about has anything to do with me, I'm happy to explore that with you. And so please, just go to my website, sign up for a 15-minute call. They're labeled discovery calls, and I'm happy to give some insight for you specifically on that. And I would love to do that. So I invite you, or, direct message me on Instagram at drgertrudelyons.com. Or now that's my website, drgertrudelyons.com, just at drgertrudelyons on Instagram, either of those places. Please, I'd love to know, thoughts, reactions, where you're resonating, where you're not, and have us be in this, all of us in this together. So here we go. Well, I'm going to say good morning to 𝐒𝐿izabeth because here in Chicago, it's a Thursday morning, just after 8 a.m. and it's rainy and a little thundery. So quite a day. I know you just got up, well, from however long you just slept, but so good morning and welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for being on again in the midst of everything.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
The blessing.
I am in the midst of it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, we were just saying before we got Lila is 17 days old
Yep.
today, 17-day birthday. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
every day's kind of a birthday, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Something new all the time.
And I don't know, I thought of a couple things, but I just wanted to check in with you wherever you're at. What's so for you in this moment?
And in this moment, I am like, I'm sore, I'm tired, I'm like sad and afraid.
Mm.
Like there's something about, well, first of all, there's something about not getting a lot of sleep that just makes the world look a little crazy. We have some, I don't even know what to call it, a nighttime. This is technically one of our, if the baby is sleeping, it's nighttime. Baby
Right.
is sleeping. You know, that's not totally true. But the
Yeah.
last night, not the, I guess 2 nights ago, we weren't sure if this was like a new thing, but she slept for a few longer chunks in the night, and so did
Mm.
we. So did the parents. Slept a few longer chunks in the night, and I woke up and I'm like, I feel like a different person.
Wow.
I feel like, like I have a new lease on life. And last night was not one of those nights. Last
Mm.
night was like, who knows? In fact, I just, let's see, last feeding time was in the 6 o'clock hour, or the beginning of the 6 o'clock hour, but the feeding intervals have been unpredictable overnight.
Yeah.
So I may be called away
Hmm. Yeah,
during this time. And
absolutely.
there's a part of me that's like if at least if we're feeding, I know what's happening. I know exactly where we're at. There's in between feedings though. I'm like, there's a part of me that's just hovering and waiting and just like anticipating like when's the next one?
Mm.
'Cause I'm on call. I'm on call.
Hmm.
And it's really tiring. It can be really painful and it can feel really lonely.
Hmm.
And I had yeah,
Yeah.
that's like I got a new, I think it was on Monday, so just a few days ago, we had baby's 2 week appointment. Well, it was really, yeah, it was 2 week appointment. And the midwife who came offered another few words of wisdom for breastfeeding. So we've got like something new that we've been working with since then, and it's been good. It's been an improvement,
Mm.
which is great. And there's a part of me that's like, boy, oh boy, can't wait to be pumping
Mm.
and like have a different relationship with my daughter being hungry.
Mm.
I'm so tired.
Yeah.
That's kind of my update right now.
Well, I really appreciate you just being honest, and being in it in the moment here. And I think these are the things that go on, like you said, alone. I mean, it's because you have to do it, right? I mean, even I think you have great support from
I have
Ryan.
fantastic support.
Yeah, like I was around it and I saw, how beautiful that partnership, but it's still you are
Yeah.
the source. You are the source. And I think we're all feel like we're supposed to like muscle through this, or I don't know if you've had this, like it's supposed to be different, or is this easier for others? And I think we not enough is shared and talk about this space that you're in right now. So I really want to just acknowledge you and that and sharing it so we can learn, so we can know, so other moms of children can, know what's ahead and not be in the dark, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah,
Does that make sense? Yeah.
it totally makes sense. And it's weird, right? It's like on the one hand, I had some clues. I had some
Mhm.
clues, including from some moms that I know that breastfeeding was like a whole thing. And when they were like, I remember there was a mom that I know that said like had a 2 sentence very blanket statement about it. I didn't ask her about it further. And
Mm.
she was like, breastfeeding is one of the hardest things that I experienced about early motherhood. And I learned a lot about lots of different things, but I wish I had done some learning in advance about breastfeeding. And the way that I responded to that piece of wisdom was I literally bought a breastfeeding course.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that I did because actually I knew some things to expect.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, so I that's one of the ways I've approached this whole journey is like I'm like, oh, I'll educate myself. I love doing that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
very good at that and I enjoy it. And there is just nothing like finding out what it is in my experience, what it feels like.
Right.
There's no textbook that's, and like even the course, the teacher of the course is like, every mom and baby is unique. She says it like 7,000 times. Every mom and baby is unique. And I'm like, okay, yeah, right. Of course we are. And
Just give me the answer on how to do it,
I
right?
know, like,
And
I'll just
okay,
do
if we're all
a
different,
general
but
way. Yeah.
and there is something heartening about that. And as you're saying it, I'm getting like how in our culture we want to know things, right? We want things to be clear and explicit and within our control, particularly. We're
Oh
big on
yeah,
that.
that'd be really great.
We're big on that. Or like we figured it out and women from the past used to experience this pain or this loneliness, but here are the 3 steps not to. And I just, and I can't say I know like what it was like, eons ago or when we lived more in community and in villages and that sort of thing, like how it felt to a woman in that time. But I pretty clear in our time, we're more isolated. We are more alone, even with some support around us, like day to day, right? Like
Mhm.
it's you and Ryan a lot right now. And there's great things about that. That's lovely in a lot of ways to have your little cocoon and be in that. But I think sometimes it also presents challenges when it comes to navigating. And I also think, sorry, I'm carrying on a bit, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts. It's another one of those areas like where I'm mad. Like we're just supposed to figure it out, like get it done in quiet. You just be quiet about it, get through it. Like, just so your baby's happy or healthy and gaining some weight. Like we don't really sorry, but we're not like that sorry because it's just what you have to do. Suck it up, woman. And that I don't like as part of
No, me
what I
neither.
feel like is our culture. Hi, I'm so excited to share with you my 2024 Spring Equinox Self-Mothering Retreat that's happening this March 2024. And I would love for you not only to consider it, but to attend. But in considering it, hey, just knowing that you would be leaving cold weather if that's the space that you're in and coming down to just magnificently beautiful, warm, nourishing place of 𝐒𝐡𝐤, Mexico. 𝐒𝐡𝐤 meaning land of the goddess women, and coming to really take time for yourself. Okay. And that I am learning more and more isn't just a nice thing to do or something extravagant or something selfish. It's essential. And I really want you to take it seriously to consider, just think about what would it take for me to go. It's a 5.5-day retreat, getting from where you are, getting there, landing there, and then being in a space that is all about you. It's all about nourishing you. It's all about tuning into you, using everything around us, the nature, the food, the beautiful people, the rituals, ceremonies. I bring it, we really bring it. And we go deeper and deeper as the days go on, and we release, we let go, we bring in what is nourishing, what is empowering, what is that space of just really divine feminine energy. And we do it in the community of women. It's not for everyone. I will be honest, if the idea of leaving and not making it work or it's just too hard, not for you. If the idea of, spending that amount of time inwardly focused and going to that level of self-awareness doesn't sound like something you're willing to do or put the time and energy into, then it's not for you. And it's good to know that, right? So this is for people who are serious about what it means to mother themselves, what it means to take time for ourselves and that gift and what that gift can bring to us. It was originally right after my fall retreat. It filled right up, but now some people, it turns out, are not able to come. So I do have a handful of openings. And if you're listening to this and you're willing to take that step, please reach out to me. We can do a discovery call, or you can put a deposit down. I would love that. And you can do that by going to my website, www.drgertrudeLyons.com. Go to events, and there you go. It'll all be there. There's a beautiful page there for you to explore. I look forward to hearing from you and then seeing you on my spring retreat.
Yeah. Some of the other wisdom that I've absorbed, I guess, or heard more recently is countering that, is like, hey, this, and I'll put this in quotes, this like shouldn't be painful, shouldn't be, AKA, if it's painful, please like do something for yourself so that it is less painful. And when I
Right.
say it, I literally mean like latching. That's
Yes.
what I like literally that. Like, hey,
Right.
if the latch is painful, it doesn't have to be so, and don't let it be painful. And like that sounds so stupid to say, but the like
No.
my friend who just had her baby, she's 6 weeks older than us as a mom and daughter duo,
Mm-hmm.
and we've talked about it. And I want to say, to her credit, she said things very lightly before I got to this stage,
Mm.
because she was like, I just didn't want to freak you out. But my daughter put me through the ringer. So, and we talked about it. And we talked about our experiences, and she was like, yeah, my lactation consultant was like, or I think she said it was one of her doctors, just like gave her permission to not power through, to like
Mm.
to say like, we're both pole dancers, like we're used to putting our bodies in uncomfortable situations.
Yes.
We can totally power through. We can totally power through.
Yeah.
And she essentially got herself some permission
Mm.
to choose something else. And now they're in a much better, happier, more stable spot, certainly than I am right now. And I'm like, okay, cool. That sounds great. I'd like to try. I like some of what she's having. And
Mm-hmm.
I know my visit with this like midwife assistant that came over this week, on the one hand, I really appreciate the permission not to power through, to
Mm-hmm.
be like, this is painful and hard, and I would like this to go differently. It also is super validating for like, when that midwife assistant came over and she was like, yeah, this can be painful and hard.
Yeah.
And like just also gave me permission for it to be painful and hard.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. This isn't like sunny and rosy and rainbows and unicorns. And
Mm-hmm.
like, and sometimes it is.
Right.
That's the bitch of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's,
Intermittent reinforcement, right? Like
yeah,
there's,
sometimes
oh,
like this
wait.
is a miracle, and I'm amazed and I'm in awe and in wonder.
Mm.
And other times I'm like, this is a slog. I will get through this, but I'm hating my experience right now. And like that, both of those can exist.
Yep.
Both of them can be okay.
Totally.
And like, I'm not
And they,
a bad person or a bad mom for having both of those experiences. That feels really, really scary to say, because I'm like, I'm not sure if I believe that.
mm,
I'd like to believe that.
yeah. Well, what if that's just a practice, right? Working toward believing that, holding that as truth.
Yeah.
What does it break? Like, what rule does it break for you to think that it could be both? What are you up against in that belief?
There's something about how like a mom's job is self-sacrifice. That's the job. even as I say it, I'm like, yeah, that still sounds pretty true. Yeah. And if it's painful for the mom, it doesn't really matter.
Mm,
That's the thing. Like, if it's hard for the mom, that's okay. And like, even as I'm saying that, I'm like, yeah, that is okay. It's okay for things to be hard. It's okay for things to not always be like easy and pleasant. And like, it's okay for me to, I really want to embrace moving toward like, I don't have to accept. I mean, like the classic, literal, very visceral physical example that I have is like when my dear sweet daughter, like we're we're feeding, we're having a latched moment, and she changes something about anything about her mouth, her intraoral cavity, her head position, like, and it's like, ooh, that's painful.
mm,
That's painful all over again. And there's some times when it's like, ooh, that's really uncomfortable, and I wish you hadn't done that. And like, you don't understand anything about what I might say. Probably all you're understanding is that like my body just like seized up a little bit. And
mm-hmm,
you're like, okay, well, I'm a little like now she's stressed out, and because I'm stressed out. So there's sometimes when it's like, this is very uncomfortable. I wish you hadn't done that. And there's sometimes when it's like, ooh, this is painful. This feels like bad pain. This feels
mm,
like this now is an unsustainable lash and we need to stop. We need to redo.
mm-hmm,
So I will break the seal. And but it just like I think we had one of those last feeding, probably. Like, ooh, that's we're not gonna keep doing that. We're not gonna keep doing that because this is really hurting mama,
mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah.
It's insane. Like I know she doesn't consciously get that.
No.
There's nothing about that that she could understand. There's nothing to do. I'm not gonna like punish her for like, well, I guess we're done now. Like, no, we're gonna redo. We're gonna come back. I'm gonna take a moment. Those kinds of moments happen often
Mm,
as we feed. Often.
mm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
Statistically, they happen very often. Kind of circling back to like the rule or
Mm-hmm.
like the belief is like you just do it. You just do it because that's what there is to do. But also like I got this dose of wisdom. Like, hey, if you're not comfortable, you the mother are not comfortable in a sustainable or at least like in a sustainable way,
Mm-hmm.
this relationship doesn't really continue because you are a required participant in this relationship. And if it's not working for you, it's not working.
Right.
That was like, oh, okay, it's something different.
Well, I just think what you're talking about is really valuable and important, Elizabeth. And yes, we're breaking the it's mom's job, selfless, go through whatever. And then countering that with wisdom, like, well, no, you don't have to be. And, if something might not be working or right, or you being not in pain, and then distinguishing those couple different kinds of pain, right?
Hmm.
It was, I think, a huge deal, like to acknowledge, like, oh, wait, this is the latching pain. I don't know, like the words. And this is like, oh, you just explored and tried something that didn't work.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I'm thinking about, so then we have this choice, and like, okay, is it black and white? Is it like, okay, well, now I don't nurse, right? Because it's painful.
Mm,
Or, and I don't know where you've been. This is what I'm
yeah.
thinking for myself, because I know I had this kind of like, I was more like, this, I've decided this is important. I'm going to like just be in pain, right? So that's why I love the journey that you're on, like exploring it. And I can share like other ways that we explored it that, might add to your inquiry. But at this moment, being with like, oh, so does that mean there's more to learn about how to have it not be painful? Is it,
Yeah.
there's just a lot of gray area, like a lot of possibilities between the like, I'm going to keep doing it just how I'm doing it and suck it up and
Hmm.
get through it. or I'm just going to stop,
Yeah, there's a
and
lot of space between those.
there's a lot of space, but I think sometimes, and I just want to acknowledge, like, in the pain or in the fear, like, it's okay if you just, and any of those choices are okay. And I think that's what we want to acknowledge too. And I don't know if that's what kind of you were being with, is like that it just doesn't feel okay to have both the, like, this is working and I want to do it and I don't. I have moments where this is beautiful and lovely, and I have moments where I hate this and wish it would just end and I could be done. I think that's what you said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do I want to navigate that? And I think that being okay, one, that, like, yeah, I can have those polar feelings and that's normal, right? Like, it's not ever going to be like, this is just great. Like, every moment of this is
Yeah,
wonderful. And I think anybody who says that's lying. Now, is it easier for some women? Like my second daughter, I didn't have the pain, right? But there's other stuff you deal with, right? Like, so
right,
obviously each baby, every
right. Everybody,
breastfeeding experience is
it's
unique.
unique.
But just giving yourself permission to explore and play. And then the thing I want to underline is, like, what you're doing today, just in this space, being with the feelings. Cause I don't think people realize, like, how kind of unique that is, that you're exploring it. You're letting yourself have the feelings about it. And, just here, with me, and I don't know how much else, but I know you have knowledge and awareness that that's okay. Right.
Yeah.
And how do I tend to myself? And then we can start looking at, like, oh, what might be in this dynamic for me to learn and grow from? Right. Like, and
Mm.
what's happening in our family atmosphere. Like, but first of all, I'll just, we'll go into that a little more. But what are you hearing from what I'm saying? Or how is it resonating or not with you?
Yeah, permission to have the feelings is like huge, and I like the follow-up question, like what is the like, I'll sometimes look at this little baby's angel face and be like, what's the lesson today? What lesson will you teach me today? And in some of my lighter moments, it's
Sure.
like it's a delight.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I hate the lesson. But yeah, I really like the invitation to, like, what's the learn, what's the grow, where are we going from here? I swear, like, Ryan and I, we have learning every day. We have
Mm-hmm.
learning every day, and we name it out loud. Like, okay, here's what we've learned based on this experience.
Oh, cool. Can you
And
share, like, an example of that? That's
oh
that's
yeah, sure. I
that's
mean, like,
wonderful.
sometimes they're like, usually they're very, very concrete and
Mm-hmm.
infant oriented, but like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. If my thinking had been, and this is totally a projection on the baby, by the way, um, like, if the baby's diaper is wet or poopy, then, and the baby is asking for food, asking for a feed, then my preference, if I were an infant, there's a projection, would be like, well, I'd like to be fresh and clean in, first, and then have my meal.
And then have my meal. Right.
And so that was like a super general, I'll put this in quotes, rule or thing that
Yeah.
we've been operating on, and it's not it. It's not it. And what Ryan said during one of the really stressful middle of the night feedings this last night, it's like, okay, so last two feeds have been, diaper was wet but not poopy, and I changed the diaper, and he said it in way fewer words than this,
Yes.
but and then she just got more and more stressed out about, why am I not eating yet? Why am I not eating yet? Why is this is not what I've asked for. Again, she didn't use words, but he noticed a pattern.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, so what I've learned is that if the baby has not pooped in her diaper, she goes straight to mommy for food immediately,
Mm-hmm.
if that's what she's asking for primarily. So, like, okay, sounds great. And I'm like, I'm sorry that you like, and the way that he learned that was like he got screamed at by an infant for
Right.
many minutes of his overnight experience, and no one was happy about it. But he learned something. And I'm like,
Exactly.
sorry you learned it that way, but great.
Well, and that's like you all navigating the relationships and the communication and picking up on cues and clues, right? Like
Mhm.
if she had words, she'd be like, well, it's about time they figured that out, right? Like she might say that, or like, oh, yay, they figured it out. Like
Yeah.
my communication worked. I had to
Hmm.
get pretty loud and consistent with it, but they got it. So, yay.